There's a saying in psychology that the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. Most of us assume that if we're able to do something once, it means that we're both able and likely to do it again. But when it comes to decision making about complex events, using the past to predict the future isn't always as accurate as you'd imagine. And that's because of something called hindsight bias. Hindsight bias is the tendency to look at past events or decisions and to justify outcomes based on all the information that you have on hand after the fact. Think of it as the I knew it all along bias. The idea being that it's easy to predict past events or outcomes when you have all the post facto information. And the rub here is that thinking that you're able to predict past events can mistakenly have you believing that you're good at predicting or addressing future issues. You see this happen all the time in the aftermath of major disasters. People's thinking is clouded by hindsight bias. It always seems so easy to know how and why something happened after it's over. You try to connect the dots, making associations between what you know today and what happened before. But you don't always do so accurately, and the result can be that you take reactive measures to prevent future disasters that actually are completely ineffective. Hindsight bias can have you reconstructing the past to justify decisions, and this can cloud both present and future judgment. To be a better decision maker, especially with regards to future outcomes, you're going to need to mute your hindsight bias. And there are a couple of strategies that you can practice to do that. As with all biases, just keep in mind that hindsight bias is a thing and that you're not immune to it. When you look back at your decisions, like everyone else, you have a tendency to believe your ability to predict or make decisions is better than it actually is. Insight about this bias isn't going to eliminate it, but it will help you stop, think, and practice these next steps. First, anytime you're trying to make a decision, especially an important decision, take a close and factual look at all the data you have on hand. Work only with what you know to be true, not what you think, feel, or believe to be true. Make decisions based on what is rather than what was or what ifs. Next, if you want to actively dismantle your tendency to give into hindsight bias, try this. Every time you come to a conclusion on why or how something happened, force yourself to use that same information to come up with 2 or 3 alternative outcomes. Prove to yourself that things could have happened differently than the way they did, and that predicting outcomes isn't as simple or straightforward as you might think. This will help you better forecast and manage all potential outcomes of your decisions. Here's the bottom line. The next time you look to the past, remember that you have a tendency to view it through present lenses, which can often lead to bad judgment.